Don't go to bed just yet. Just give us one more hour, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is another episode of Cubfidential, where we have the greatest Cubs coverage after dark. I am your host, Dr. Cubfidence, aka Denzel Snipes, aka Cubvicted Felon, and we have a jam-packed show. I'm super excited for today's show. Came with a lot of prep, as with every other show. We're going to be covering some series. Cubs have been winning a little bit as of late, so it's going to be great. They also took part in a game that has been named after a film, of course, and it's been tradition pretty much every single year, and it should feel double special because there's not going to be a game like that next year. Maybe someone can shed some light on that. But without further ado, let's bring in our host. He is the Brooklyn bad boy, all the way from Coney Island, New York City, New York, in Brooklyn. JB Ellis, come on in.
What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, man?
I feel kind of dirty tonight. I was talking with Ozzie Guillen Jr. on Sideline Sports today. Little White Sox, talking about Ozzie Guillen and the White Sox a little bit. So, I feel a little dirty. We get a little White Sox. Now we're doing some Cubs. So, all Chicago tonight.
Yeah, it is. It's been a Chicago type night. Even though theoretically none of us are currently living in Chicago. But hey, let's start it, man. If you want to bring on your first commentator.
Let's do it. So let's start out with, we got Jenn coming in. We're going to talk a little bit about the series going on right now with Washington, the Nationals, who now are without Soto against the Cubs. So, Jenn, what's going on with the series so far?
Well, I did a lot of research on the series from last week, and we won 3 out of 4 games last week. 3 out of 4 games last week. And tonight we are winning so far. We lost last night, but we're winning so far tonight, 5-4, top of the 10th. So we're in OT or extra innings, however you want to say it. I like calling it all OT.
No worries. Listen, I like to call it free baseball. If we just get rid of the stupid runner on second base, I'd be a happy man. Why not? I think what they should do, let's start all sorts of weird rules. That's going to be, you know what? I'm taking over the formatting of the show. To get our producer, the convicted felon, comes up with a new name every week. You know what?
But he's such a nice face for a Cub-victed felon, and he's so well educated. I just can't believe he's Cub-victed.
So I think the poll for tonight is, what should MLB do for the extra inning rule? So I'm going to start with that. Let's forget about the Cubs for a second, because we've been winning, and I want to relish in that for a minute.
It needs to be capped. Like, literally, does anybody really enjoy an additional 11 extra innings ever?
Yes.
Does anyone?
Yes.
I
Free
don't.
baseball. Let him play till the morning. Let him keep playing. I don't care how many innings. It could be 30 innings. I don't want to go anywhere.
Well, that's an interesting question. What's the longest game ever?
I'm going to have to ask someone to look that up, but off the top of my head,
I got to Google that.
24 innings off the top of my head. I could be wrong. I'm waiting for somebody in the background to put it in the chat. The first one in the chat, I'm going to give a shout out to. So let's see who's going to win. I know I got everyone looking right now.
Actually, you were close. It was the Brooklyn Robins versus the Boston Braves. All right, Brooklyn bad boy, that's your team. Sorry, I have my monitor on my second screen. And it was 26 innings on May 1st, 1920.
Wow. So that's pretty well. That's almost 3 games. I would love to watch that. I would gladly sit there all 26 innings, play. You know what? Keep playing. Let's not stop. So last week the Cubs took 2 out of 3 from the Nats.
Yeah.
What was working for them last week?
I think they were gelling. We had 11 hits in that first game, 6 runs, 2 home runs. Then, on the next night we did better with the left on bases. On the first game, we had more than the Nationals, but we had 4 runs on Wednesday night, 9 hits, 1 home run. So only 6 left on base versus their 7. And I may have skipped to the last game. Sorry. The middle game. Sorry. The middle game is the one we lost. So we bookended it, right? And that's okay because sometimes the middle of the book gets a little boring. So on that night, this is where we screwed up when we lost to the Nats on Thursday night. It was 10 left on base. We can't do that. Jordan and I have talked about this. I think you and I have talked about this as well. We can't leave players on base, especially double digits. Get away from it. Stop it.
Yeah, it's never a good thing when you leave multiple guys on base. You
Right.
know, and it's horrible when that happens. When you look at a series and you see that you have a shot to take all 3 games. You're playing a team like the Nationals who's down on their luck. You know, they traded their best player, the Padres, and got a boatload of return for that's going to make them a decent team in the future if the prospects pan out. But right now, they are not a good team, and you lose a 1-run game, you leave 10 guys on, and you lose a winnable game. And
Right.
in the loss column, Mark Leiter again.
And in all honesty, like in that game that we lost, we had Suzuki was the only top performer from the Cubs. Whereas on game 1, it was Vasquez, Thompson, Morel. And on game 3, we got lucky because we only had Steele as the top performer. So, we need to step it up because the Nationals aren't that great. So we have a better shot of making, the playoffs over the Nationals, to be honest. But just my humble opinion.
So with a series like that, when you're playing a team that's, not doing too well, and right now the Nationals are in the cellar in the National League East, 39-78 currently after tonight's loss. Winning 2 out of 3, is that acceptable? Is that is that a good thing or?
I think winning 2 out of 3 is a good thing. It's good for your confidence. I think they had a reality check on Wednesday night when they went in because they had probably gone in too cocky. And we've all seen players and teams when they go in too cocky and they lose, then they have that reality check and it's not going to happen again. So I think that's what happened. I think that's why we're winning tonight. But the Cubs have been trying to gel. I guess they're listening to our show because, and yeah, I agree with Will. I was going to say I like the floating head.
Well, how you doing? Well, our Yankees are not doing so well. But
yeah,
that's a story that we can talk about a different time. Right now, the Cubs are on a roll.
Yes.
They're playing great baseball, but when you look at the 2 out of 3, and you have to wonder. The trade deadline came and went. Happ, Contreras, Hendricks all stayed with the team. They got rid of some key relievers. They got rid of Efros and some guys that'll help you win games long term. But do you think that keeping those guys it was a key to them performing the way they are right now, or do you think that had nothing to do with it?
I think when Contreras was capped and when they were both capped, it elevated because I know it definitely elevated Contreras' play. Just the relief. And also because he had to go in feeling like, every single day is an interview anyway, right? Like regardless of your job, but being on that national scale, and being, a hero to so many, children and grown-ups, that's a whole other pressure that I couldn't imagine. So, I think that when he was able to just go back and enjoy the game and not worry about where his next team was going to be, he was able. And I think the same would happen because it was Happ they were talking about trading too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to get to that.
Yeah.
You know, getting to Hap, I'm going to cut you off real quick.
No, you're fine.
So the Cup are done tonight. You know, Bleacher Reports has projected Ian Happ to be traded during the offseason. Now, Cub are done. Is this a move that the Cubs should even be thinking about?
I think it's been discussed, but I think that sports media gets bored a lot of times and makes up stuff. And like may hear like, oh yeah, somebody should trade the Cubs should trade Hap, and then they run with it because somebody stated an opinion. Then they run with it. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's interesting to see. I think that, you know, the Cubs have a lot of good young pieces, and, you know, you can build around a guy like Hap. You can build around Contreras. You need to do what you can to keep them. You know, I look back to teams that have won multiple World Series, and what is the consistent thing that they have? They have guys that they built around that were young guys that come up through the system. You look at the Yankees in the late 90s, early 2000s, you know, they had the core 4 and 5, and they built around it with guys they brought in, and they won multiple World Series and were dominant for years, even when they didn't win the World Series. You know, the question is, do the Ricketts want to spend the money out of the pockets and keep these guys and do what they need to do?
I hope so. But I think, like a lot of fans, I myself have lost a lot of faith and confidence in the Ricketts because because they haven't tried to follow up. Jordan Long, if you're watching this tonight, I'm sorry for this analogy, but it's like when the Broncos won the 2015 Super Bowl. They had no game plan for after they won. And so far, the Cubs' game plan after we won has been to dismantle the team.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, obviously this year is done, and they have a lot of work to do to become relevant next year. So we'll definitely see what happens. Where can people find you, Jenn?
So we took a break tonight because of back to school, but you can find us most Tuesday nights at 7:30 on 3 Chicks in a Pod with my girls, Carrie Johnson, the Chiefs chick, and my girl, Megan Price, the Queen of Hoops. Then obviously here on Cubfidential. During the NFL season, you can find me on NFL Carousel, Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel, and the Pundits Pundit with the Pundits Pundit himself, Mr. Jacob Christner, who will be joining us soon. And then on Monday nights during the season, the NBA Carousel, which is Megan Price's NBA Carousel, EPU, Mr. JB Ellis. So that's where y'all can find me. And thanks for having me on, JB.
We appreciate it, Jenn. You have a great week, and we'll see you next week here at Cubfidential.
You too. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. So next, we're going to bring in, you know, longtime correspondent, Stevie Batts. What's going on?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Long time no see.
I know, JB. It's been like I haven't talked to you in a while, so it's good to.
Listen, I've been on vacation. You haven't been here a couple of weeks. We've been on opposite schedules, but the Cubs have been winning recently.
Well, hey,
so.
the fans can't handle us both. We have to alternate weeks just so we don't give them too much excitement. Yeah, that's what it is.
Exactly. So this week, you know, we're going all out on Cubfidential. You got Stevie Batts and me. So I mean, you know, calm down, people.
Well, we're celebrating our 7-5 11 inning win tonight. So
exactly. Yeah. Extra innings. We're gonna put a guy at second base.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Bunt a guy over, hit a sac fly, and score a run. Exciting.
It was all that easy. I mean,
exciting. Yeah.
I can't understand. You would think every team would score at least one run in extra innings.
And you know, and tonight it did work out. Both teams scored 1 in the 10th, and then the Cubs were able to score 2 in the 11th and win. But yeah, you would think professional hitters more often than not, a runner on second with no outs to start it, you're going to get at least one run across, you'd like to think. But, you know, it's still hard to hit a baseball, so it's obviously not going to happen every time. But, yeah.
No, without a doubt.
I like you calling the audible and just saying, what are they going to do to fix extra inning rules?
Oh, it's hard. Listen, let him just play. I mean, I got it during the pandemic. I didn't like it. I dealt with 7-inning doubleheaders, which was horrible. But this guy, runner at second base, if you're gonna do that, you gotta change the whole win-loss thing.
Yep.
You gotta go to a hockey type thing, and that's fine.
I was just gonna say, if you're gonna do it, then I guess do it. Yeah, you get three points for a win, and or whatever, or 2 points for a win and 1 point for extra, extra inning game or whatever. Where you say, hey, we're gonna play one more extra inning. Everybody gets a runner on second. If it's still tied after that, it's still tied after that. Like, if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it. But because they obviously there's a couple of minor league parks pretty close to my house, so I go to a decent amount of like Class A games and stuff, and because it's it's like free tickets basically almost, and they tried it out there before they brought it to the majors, just like they're doing with the pitch clock right now, which for the games that I've gone to, the pitch clock I don't mind that much. It seems like it speeds it up a little bit. But yeah, the runner on second thing, heck, my 11-year-old, we went to one of his tournaments, had that rule in extra innings. And you're like, come on, let the kids play. But yeah,
it's just horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
Yeah, for Major League Baseball, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'm sure some people would, right? Has anybody really complained about baseball games being too long? Like, I feel like, like maybe if you're a mainstream sports fan, you're not really a baseball fan, but I'm pretty sure baseball fans, it's only been around for, hundreds of years. I'm pretty sure by this point, what the game entails, right? And that's what it's a summer game. It's a relaxing game. You're at the park, you're relaxing, you're having a hot dog and a beverage or two. You're not trying to be out there. You're not trying to be in and out of there in 90 minutes. Like, no. No one's calling for 75-minute baseball games, so you could go too far in the opposite direction. And I feel like that's what baseball is.
Yeah. Like the pitch clock, I get, there's no reason to have all that dead time.
Yeah.
I like the idea of stopping 8 million guys going to the mound all game.
Yep.
The 3-batter minimum, I think, stupid. I don't like that rule, but the extra inning rule kills me.
Yeah,
it's not baseball. Why don't we just, we can have all sorts of stupid rules. Let's have a hot dog eating contest for extra innings. Because that's more like baseball than what they're doing.
True. I mean, true.
Yeah. It's just horrible.
I think, I'm with you. Like I said, I've been to tons of minor league games this year. The pitching clock doesn't bother me. I feel it does kind of keep it moving a little bit. Though, of course, even when they do go out for a mound visit, the pitching coach is still going to take 45 minutes to get to the mound. But I think it's a requirement that all pitching coaches must walk slowly.
Yes. Well, I mean, I get it. It's gamesmanship. You want to get that extra time for the reliever.
Absolutely.
And I can live with that,
But yeah, get rid of the runner starting on second thing. Because the Cubs score and I'm excited, but we're like, but now, Washington still gets the same situation, a runner on second with no outs in the bottom of the inning. And sure enough, obviously, they scored. Now, luckily, the Cubs were able to get 2 across in the 11th and find a way to win tonight. But which a game that actually ended like about 3 minutes before we went on air, I think.
7-5 Cubs win. It's on the bottom of the screen. I'm seeing.
Yeah, those extra inning games keeping us up late. But so hopefully people tune in right after the game, right to
Post game live.
Post game
live right here on Cubfidential.
There you go.
But so let's get over to this Cubs for you, Ian Happ, this week. 400, 3 homers, 8 RBIs. What did he do differently this week? Is he just more calm, knowing that he's staying in Chicago? He doesn't have to pack up and move and get a temporary apartment somewhere else.
I can't think that doesn't play a role. I think it has to, and him and Contreras, they had the hug and what was going to be their last game at Wrigley, and it was emotional and all that stuff. And you did almost every day. You're like, oh, is this going to be his last game with the Cubs? Is this going to be his last game with the Cubs? So now that you have that out of the question, at least until the end of the season, at least hey, I'm here for the rest of the year. And like I said, he's had a 7-game hit streak. Went 2 for 3 with 2 home runs last night. Did not start tonight because they playing against the lefty. Technically, then he got pitch hit in the 9th and technically batted in the 11th too. So he technically was 0 for 2 with 2 Ks tonight, but did score a run because lo and behold, he was the last out of the 9th. So thus he was the runner on second base to start to start the 10th inning. We'll just turn this all around full circle. But the biggest issue that I got to bring up, and I'm a huge Ian Happ fan, so I'm probably just trying to, get everybody else. He scored 3 runs this entire week. Those would be on his 3 home runs that he hit. So that means that some other people are not doing their job, you only walked twice, which is, wasn't great, obviously, but 8 hits, a double, 3, but 3 runs scored, when you have 3 home runs is not ideal. And we got to give an honorable mention. In fact, and I should have updated his stats because Mr. Reyes has been great. He's been, and it's only been, basically the last 5 games now, but he's hitting over 370 now. He had a home run last night and tonight. He was 2 for 3 with 2 runs and an RBI and a home run early in the night. I should have double checked it to see what he finished at, but he's been playing well. So it's nice to see maybe a little change of scenery has helped him. Because the Cubs were up, and I'm sorry I'm ruining things, but they were up 4-2 in this game and then kind of had to hold on. But hey, we'll take any win that we can get.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting when you look at, the way the schedule kind of breaks down last week and the beginning part of this week. You're playing, bad teams, and this is where, you have to capitalize. You have to win games when you play bad teams. It's okay to get swept by the Yankees and Dodgers. You're not that team right now. But you got to win series when you play the Nationals and you play the Reds. You have to come out and beat the teams you're supposed to beat. You really play who's on your schedule.
Yeah.
You're in a bad division. You're not in the best division of baseball. You should be able to beat the Pirates. You should be able to beat the Reds. You should be competitive against St. Louis and Milwaukee. I mean, they're better, but you should be able to compete against them. So you should do decently there. And then you got to beat up on the other bottom teams. And when you play the good teams, if you lose, that's baseball. That's life. But they got to definitely do better.
Definitely have to take advantage of all the Reds, Pirates, and Nationals you have on your schedule. And obviously they're not going to make the playoffs or anything like that. But you just want to improve as a baseball team, and try to get a look at some guys, and you kind of, because you want to see what you have on with some of these guys, because the only thing that you can't do is obviously you don't want to just mail it in and now you wasted 35, 40 games where you could have gotten better, because obviously they're in a situation where they need to try to be getting better every day.
Well, I mean, this is a huge part of the year because you have such a young team. You got to get guys in key situations.
Yep.
You got to, to relate it to football, kind of like what the Dolphins did with Tua. Young quarterback, you want him to lead your team in the future. You're taking him out of the fourth quarter of games so you can win games that you're not going to win the Super Bowl anyway. Makes no sense. Get the experience, because you're going to need these guys if you expect to be in contention for the wild card next year or the year after. This experience right now is invaluable. See what you got. Let them play. And hopefully when the situation comes when they're needed in a year or two, they can come out and do what's needed. But, got to just take advantage.
Yeah, with any sport, very quickly, the worst thing that you could do is just be, mediocre, right? Like if you're not contending, you should be rebuilding. It's pure and simple, or at least have a plan on how you're going to improve. So, absolutely, you have to get a look at what you got, because you don't obviously Cubs fans are loyal, as we showed for many decades, but you want to improve, and they have the money to do it. You're going to get the fan base anyway. You're going to sell out Wrigley. You're going to have more fans, than the home team at most cities that you go to with Cub fans. So you got all the things that you need. And yeah, you hope that you hit on two of these, prospects, and, hopefully down the line you can be competitive, because to your point, they don't play in the hardest division in baseball. So there's really not a reason that they can't be at least in wild card contention next season.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I think that's key. Keep building. Like you said, if you're not winning, It's time to figure out the plan to get to winning. So come or done. This comes for you, guy, Ian Happ.
Yeah.
They going to get rid of him in the off season, or are we keeping him?
My assumption is they're probably going to keep him. I mean, obviously they have him just for one more year. So I mean, I would firstly try to work out an extension for him, but that's because I love him. But because I'm thinking that you're not going to get offered a better trade in the offseason than you got at the trade deadline. At least you shouldn't, because that team gets him for less time. Now, if that team is a team that he says, oh yeah, if you trade for me, I'll sign, a 6-year extension, then maybe you move on. Of course, but if it's something like that, then if you're the Cubs, you need to make sure that you get at least one major league ready player and then about 2 or 3 good prospects. And that's the key. Is everyone's like, oh, well, if he's not going to stay, we should trade him. Well, yeah, but don't trade someone just for the sake of trading someone, right? Like, you got to do it right. I mean, not to use the analogy from the state that I live in, but, the Tigers and Avila as their general manager, and thank God they finally fired him, literally turned out Justin Verlander, Scherzer, David Price, JD Martinez, go down the list, and literally got no major league quality players for any of those guys. So you're like, oh, well, we moved on from these guys because they weren't going to re-sign. They're in their last year of their deal. But you literally got nothing that was beneficial to you. Some guy who, stayed in AA for 3 years and then is no longer with, you got nothing that actually helps you for those players. So that's the thing. Don't just, we're going to trade Ian Happ for 2 right-hand pitching prospects that probably are going to peak out in AAA. No. But if you could say, hey, we can trade Ian Happ for a major league ready, outfielder and 3 arms, okay, then at least maybe I'll be able to live with it. I'm still going to be sad because I'm a huge Ian Happ fan, but at least I could be able to live with it. But I do not think he's getting traded. I think he wants to stay in Chicago, and I think they're going to do everything they can to try to give him some sort of deal where he stays in Chicago for at least, 3-4 years. I mean, it's a small window in baseball, as we saw, obviously, not to bring up old stuff, but, as great as 2016 was, if you polled us, probably about 95% of Cub fans would have been positive that they'd win at least one more World Series with that core.
I would have thought so, looking at that team. I figured at least 2, if not 3 to 4, keeping the guys they had.
They had when everybody was young. But whatever. We don't want to be sad tonight. We want to be happy tonight because we won and we're playing at least a little bit better. So
where can people find you, Steve?
Easiest way, obviously, you can find me on Cubfidential when I decide to stay up past my bedtime. During the NBA season, obviously, you can find me on the NBA Carousel. Hopefully, I'll be doing something with football here shortly. I still want to get on 3 Chicks in a Pod at some point. Still want to get on Bass Bros at some point. But the easiest way, obviously, to just get a hold of me is on Twitter. All eyes on you. All eyes on the letter U. All eyes on you hoops, or my personal SMan1720. Let's talk sports.
Sounds good. Stevie Bass, have a great night, man. See you next week.
Thanks, buddy. You too.
Have a good one. All right. So from Michigan, I'm going to go out west a little bit to a suffering fan of the Cubs, because he's also a Dolphins fan. Not Dolphins fan, a Denver Bronco fan. It's a little late for me tonight. I haven't done this last week. So, I'm catching my wind being up late. The convicted felon has convinced me I need to stay up late and make the show it is. But the guy who hosted for me while I wasn't here is going to come up next. We got Jordan Long. So, Jordan, welcome. You were about to speak and I cut you off. I love it. What's going on?
Oh, not a whole lot, JB. I'm just glad the Cubs are finally playing a little bit better baseball, a little bit of a happier show than we've had in past weeks with you.
So let's talk. Let's get right to it. Field of Dreams, right? So 2 years they've had the Field of Dream games, right? Got 2 teams from Chicago that have won both games. Conspiracy, truth. Last year, walk-off home run, I believe it was, Tim Anderson, if I'm correct. I try to forget it because it was against the Yankees, so I don't really want to remember it. This year, the Cubbies went there. They took care of business. They won. So 2 years, 2 Chicago teams, the cornfield. Both teams didn't win World Series in ridiculously long times. They both won them around the same time. You know, we had Ozzie Guillen Jr. on Sideline Sports tonight talking some White Sox. We got the Cubs show tonight. Sort of think it's a little conspiracy type thing going on in Iowa.
Hey, as long as we're winning, and I mean, yeah, it's the White Sox that won it last year and then us this year. Hey, but what a great setting. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better setting. I mean, the cornfields in the background, you had the guys coming through the cornfields. And even before that, you had Ken Griffey Jr. playing catch with his dad. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better setting. And
What's
then
his dad's name?
Ken Griffey.
Yeah, everybody always forgets about Ken Griffey Sr. I mean, you know, great guy. But, okay, go ahead.
And then you had Fergie Jenkins throwing to Johnny Bench. I mean, how great is that? The only thing that I would want to change, though, it's just one game. I'd like to see it a series. I don't know how Major League Baseball can have that happen, but it's just like one game wasn't enough. I wanted more. And then, of course, the 7th inning, you had Harry Carey hologram. I didn't expect that. One of the greatest guys who, broadcasted games for WGN. It was just an amazing setting, and even better that we won that game. It was a close game throughout, and I mean, I was expecting us to, play a lot better. Sure, we won 4-2, but you look at it, and we had so many opportunities to actually extend this lead. In the third, with no outs, Winston hit a single, and Contreras, I mean, he knows how to run the bases. He tries to go from first to third. He gets thrown out. I didn't understand that why he did that. I mean, he's an all-star. I didn't understand that. And then in the 5th, with 1 out and runners on first and second, Hab struck out, and then Velasquez grounded out. But overall, it was just a great setting. Even the players were saying that it felt like a college setting. I mean, here in Grand Junction, Colorado, we have the Junior College World Series, where I have seen, people like Bryce Harper come through town, and it just reminded me of that, just a small setting. I think here we had 10,000 fans for a night game, sometimes for day games almost only 4,000. That was basically what they had there. I mean, it was just a great setting. I wish Major League Baseball would have it just for more than one game, though.
So, question for you, right? Field of Dream games, right? You have one game in Iowa. So I get why they put the Chicago teams there geographically. Now, you want to do it for a series, which I agree. I would love to see more games there. And, which teams are going to want to give up a homestay, because it is a smaller field. And on top of that, now you have less seats there, so you're going to lose money. So that's why I think the one game, thing is awesome, because you get the spectacle of it. You make a big deal of it. But how do you, turn it into a 3-game set and make it as exciting for you to tune into games 2 and 3?
It's basically like, I'm going to go into the NFL. I mean, it's easier with the NFL since there's an 17-game season rather than a 16. But when it was 16, you basically had, the international games where they would have to give up a game. And then they would actually, have that with the preseason. You get that back. So the question is how can you get that back? Well, I don't think you can with baseball. I mean, you could probably try a spring training game in those sites if you're going to have a 3-game set and say, hey, you know what? We're going to lower prices just for these 3 games. Go see the young guys play. And then you can get your revenue that way. And plus, you still have all your sales there. But, I mean, it is a good question. Would teams agree to it? I'm not sure they would, just because they don't want to lose.
Tell me what you think about this one. Why not do a doubleheader? 2 different teams. Four teams total. You do Cubs, Reds like you did. Throw, I don't know, Dodgers, Braves, game 2.
I would be in favor of that. Then you have more than one game there. I think that'd be a fair way to do it. That way you have more than one game, and you don't have to play a series. You'd have 2 games, and who knows, but have one, in the afternoon and one in the evening, prime time. I think it would work out.
But what I like to see, maybe do a day-night doubleheader with a celebrity softball game in between. There we go. MLB. If you're listening, just remember, Cubfidential just gave you the perfect thing. Day-night doubleheader with celebrity softball in the middle. We're all going to Iowa. Book the flights now.
I'm down with that. It sounds like a great deal. You have one game in the afternoon, and then you said have a celebrity softball game, and then have it in the evening. Perfect. I'm down with that, JB. I like that idea.
We saw the All-Star game there. Good idea, but the All-Star game is a huge moneymaker.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have that in a stadium that has 40 to 50,000 seats. Too much money given up to do that. Unless you find another way to make that kind of money back, I don't see that happening. But let's get to the rest of the series with the Reds. So, guys pulled out the win at the Field of Dreams game, which is phenomenal. Chicago 2-0 in Iowa. All Cubs and White Sox game are now being moved to the state of Iowa for the foreseeable future.
There you go, 100%. 100% win percentage. I'll take it.
So you guys go to Cincinnati, you get the Friday off, and you go there for a quick Saturday-Sunday series, which just seems odd. Let's talk about those games.
Well,
if the Cubs do well.
Saturday, we won 7-2. And if you look at it, our hitting was on point. We had Ian Happ as our player of the week, and he had a 3-run home run. And I like the offense in that game. 9 hits, 7 runs, 4 walks. I've talked about you with strikeouts. We didn't swing the bat as much to swing and miss. 7 strikeouts, 3 home runs. It was basically, I know it was a great offense, but then you need pitching. Well, our pitching overall in that game only gave up 7 hits, 2 runs, 6 walks, and 14 strikeouts. Of course, Sampson started that game, 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, and he was the one that gave up the 2. But otherwise, Newcomb, Hughes, and Ullman didn't give up anything. So I like that. We left people on base, but at that point, who cares when you win 7-2?
Yeah, and then you take that, you go into Sunday. Let's talk about Sunday's game.
Sunday, we had a 2-0 lead when Wisdom hit a 2-run home run, gave up 4 runs in the second. Really, it was our pitching that let us down. We took a 5-4 lead when Gomes hit a 2-run home run and Morel a solo shot. So you had 2 home runs right there. Reds added 3 in the 5th, but in the 8th, here's where the game actually basically got cost the Cubs the game. In the 8th inning, they had a chance with the bases loaded and 1 out. You would think, we're going to score 2 or 3 runs to, take the lead. Nope, didn't happen. Velasquez and Happ struck out to end the inning. Lost 8-5. Again, I'm going to take what Jen said, and I've talked to her about this. We left 11 men on base. If 11 left on base, if you could have, dropped that in half, we win this game easily.
Yeah, the guys left on base are a huge issue. You can't do that at all. And then, you compound that with giving up too many runs. You're wasting opportunities. It was just an ugly look. So, the way the Cubs are playing right now, I've been hard on Ross all year. Today with the way that they're playing over the last couple of weeks since the trade deadline, you still feel the same way I feel that Ross needs to go, and the sooner the better?
I think so. Ross has had his chances since, he was hired to do something. I know we went to the playoffs with him once. We lost. It was a weird COVID-shortened season, and we lost. But honestly, I want new blood. I want somebody there to manage the team that actually knows how to manage. The only thing he knew, and we've talked about this, is he was a catcher, which is kind of a manager out on the field, but that's not really having managerial experience. And really and truly, I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers, who recently fired their head coach or their manager because he didn't have managerial experience. I think if we're going to get rid of Ross, it has to be at the end of the year and find a manager with managerial experience.
So last question, 2 other things. Extra innings, how do we fix them? This guy on second's got to go.
Honestly, I think you have to go with what everyone's been saying. Just go back to the original. Play 18, 19 innings. That's more fun than a guy on second, because I've told you this on the shows. When there's a guy on second, I always think, someone hit a double. And then I realize, wait, that's the start of the inning. that's not what happened. I just say, forget the guy on second. I understand that it, shortened the extra innings, but why? What are we trying to do? It's baseball. I like extra baseball. Why not just play until somebody wins and play the whole innings without a guy on second?
Cupper dud. Bleacher Reports. Ian Happ gone at the end of the year, being traded.
I can't say it. I'm with Steve here. He has one more year of club control. Why trade him now? You tried to trade him at the deadline. Nothing happened. I don't know what kind of deals they even had for him. They obviously didn't have a good deal. My thing is, if you don't get a contract extension like Steve is saying, let him play until the trade deadline next year and see what happens. But I can't see him getting traded in the winter meetings.
Jordan, where can people find you?
You can find me at sports-scoop.com, which is my blog that I write Mondays through Fridays with podcasts on Fridays. I am also on the NBA Carousel on Mondays, which is hosted by Megan Price, the NFL Carousel, which is on Thursdays, hosted by Eric Wilson, and of course here on Cubfidential.
All right, Jordan, we'll see you in a few minutes. I have a feeling that there's going to be a good confrontation coming up.
There will be.
All right, next, the one, the only, Mr. Ubbs. The Pundits Pundit. You're never going to live that name down.
Of course I'm not. Let me tell you this.
It.
You talked about the Harry Carey. You talked about the Harry Carey hologram. It looked like the one picture someone found a little while back that he was actually sober, and they decided to plant it on him. For the hologram. That's
awesome. So let's jump right to it. I'm going to start before we get into the 97 games back in 2008. Let's talk about extra innings. I'm going to start you with the extra innings. Is it absurd or what?
You talking about adding this person on second base?
Correct.
Oh yeah, of course. But it's like, you knew darn good and well they were going to try something. It's like anything, just because you got to remember, and I don't like it, can't stand it. But anything, huh?
I know what they should do. What they should do is they should do a hockey shootout. They should take the game and go to the nearest NHL arena, and the pitcher could have to play goalie, and we can have a shootout.
Or a home run contest. Any of the things. But no, but the thing is, though, if they wanted to do this, I know why they're doing it. They're doing it for the younger. They're trying to get the younger generation. But that's not doing anything either. In fact, you might as well just go all the way and do your. I mean, by the way, your record you were talking about is 26 innings. That's major leagues. Minor leagues is 33 innings, 1981.
Yes, I didn't give you credit for that because you said minor league.
No, but I'm just saying longest game. Yeah. I was just thinking mine is the longest game period. But yeah. But those are the things we might as well have all those but at the same time, what can you really do other than like we brought up, you talk about a shootout. What about a home run contest with your best home run hitters? If you really want to get younger people, because that is a very TikTok, YouTube type thing that you can put in.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan. Play baseball. I'm there to see baseball. I want to see baseball. I want to see other stuff.
I do. I'll be 44 in 8 days. I'll be 44 in 8 days. I mean, I already know your age. The thing is,
21.
Absolutely. I mean, and a 19-year-old hot chick. But still, but no. The thing is, I'm just saying. I know my age. I know your age. We want baseball where it went to 18 innings. We want the old school. We want stolen bases. We want all of this. But this era is not ours. So we have to put that in our heads. Does it stink? Yeah. So if we're going to be going to the younger people that are with the TikTok and YouTube generation, we might as well do something like a home run contest after the 11th inning or something, because this putting them on second base is boring.
It's horrible. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's not baseball. But what are you going to do? Let's talk about some baseball. Let's talk about some great baseball.
Yeah.
Let's talk about 2008. What a great year.
Yeah. Beautiful year. It was great hitters. It's like, here was the problem, though. I mean, getting the Cardinals, that's always great. And then remember, 2015 got the Cardinals to go up to the NLCS. That's always great. But Getting the Cardinals was no surprise because growing up, I went to 7 Cardinals games in Busch Stadium because we were closer. Quincy, Illinois is closer to St. Louis than Chicago.
Right.
So we didn't go to – I went to Wrigley one time. I went to Busch 8. So the old Busch. And
Right.
the Cubs won 7 of those 8 games. So it's like when I was there, it'd probably be their only win. So we all talk about rivalries. It's like the Bears and Packers once used to be a rivalry before the Packers just flat dominated it. The Cubs and Cardinals are a legitimate rivalry. The Cubs, even in their bad years, will get the Cardinals on a few games. They've gotten the Cardinals to win the divisions. They got the Cardinals to go on to the NLCS. They've gotten them. So this is a legitimate rivalry. So to me, it's never been a shock because even in the Cubs' bad years, they've won the season series on them.
Right. So why is it that the Cubs did so well against the Cardinals consistently?
It's a rivalry. It's a rivalry. You just can't tell. I mean, and sometimes they would take 2 out of 3 in St. Louis. They get swept in Chicago. It happens. But one of the things about that 2008 year, I mean, even in this time, this was at a time when I played fan and did all that stuff like that. Even then, I was a bit doubtful. They won 83 out of the 162 games. They gave up over 4 runs and over. They did not have wonderful pitching. They did not have a team ready for a playoff. This wasn't one of those. See, this is over 50% of the games you give up over 4 runs. And
Right.
that's the thing. That when you get, it's like when they beat the Cardinals in 15, they was all in home runs. It was all power hitting. When you get to power hitting, then someone is going to shut you down. It's like the Mets, the next round.
Right.
When you rely on all hitting, pitching's going to shut you down like the Dodgers did in 08. And those were the things. See, those were the biggest deals about it, is the fact that you just did not have the pitching. They just did not have anything. And it was like they did not have a team ready for the playoffs for that year, or in 07 for that matter.
No, I can understand that. So let's go into the cupboard. Ian Happ being traded at the end of the year because we're starting to cut short on time. We're going to get to the confrontation.
Sure. See, and I'm going to see before I answer that, I want to see what they do with September because they're kind of winning these 2 out of 3s, last 5, like 2 out of 3s. So I'm trying to see if they have some kind of cardboard cutout of the owner, and I hope not, because I hope it's the owner like Rachel Phelps from Major League and not Ricketts. I don't want a cardboard cutout of him going naked. So, but the thing is, though, I'm wondering if they have a cardboard cutout of Rachel Phelps and trying to tear off the piece of the dress until they win, because they're playing well lately. So I wonder if they're doing that to figure out what they want to do with a Hap or whatever.
That's interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where they end up the year. So we're going to keep it right here with you. We're not even going to go back to the fill-in host and go to the sports scoop right now. We're going to go straight into confrontation, because I want to hear from you. Kyle Hendricks, with his arm inflammation. We shutting him down for the year, or are we going to let him pitch? What's the right thing to do if you're the Cubs?
And here's the thing about his arm inflammation. I really don't know if he does, because here's what I'm going to say why I don't believe in it. Truly. Maybe he's a little hurt. Maybe he's a little sore. But normally with something like that, and it's your ace, you get a pile of reports. We hear 0. When he ended his, here's the deal. He ended his last 2 games, one really good game, one decent one with a couple of runs. And then, but here's the thing, and then he goes out in the 3rd inning. I'm wondering is if this team was so bad, if he shut himself down, because I don't hear anything about the injury. And I wonder if they start winning a little more, that he plays in September to get himself into a free agency or get himself to traded, for something good into a better team later. Because if the team is that bad, why get yourself out there and have a horrible record and hurt yourself? So I don't believe he needs to be shut down. I believe if the team is getting better and the team's getting better, bring up his stats a little bit, because he did have some good games. So I have a belief he needs to come back as long as the team is good.
Interesting point. So we're going to go right over to Sports Scoop, right over here, Mr. Jordan Long. So why should they be shutting him down? I need to know.
Well, you look at it. I mean, we're 15 games back of first place St. Louis. We have 47 games back, 47 games left. Now you look at it, Kyle Hendricks, I did look up, he's in rehab in Arizona, hopes to play again, but he hasn't pitched since July 5th against the Brewers where he lasted 5 innings. What's the point of for him to come back now? I mean, he was already, like Jacob said, he's our ace, but he was 4-6 with an ERA of 4.80. The 4 wins are the lowest in his career. What would be the point of bringing him back just to start a few games? I say shut him down. You have to allow him to be ready for 2023. If you look at it, the Cubs won't report until spring training until February. So that gives him 6 months to get ready. I just don't think that if you bring him now, he lasts 3 or 4 starts for what? What's the point? We're not going to the postseason. If we were going to the postseason, yeah, it makes sense. Shut him down right now. Let him get ready for next year, for spring training, and for him to be our ace. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to say, okay, we have a couple of months left, play him. No, you shut him down now.
All right, so that was Jordan Long. So now we got the rebuttal coming up. We got Mr. Ubbs himself trying to redeem himself with this rebuttal. What do you got? 60 seconds on the clock, please.
How do you know he has a next year in Chicago? How do you know that? This is not 1987. This is not where you're guaranteed that they're on the team the next year. He can easily be traded. And one of the biggest things about it is you brought up his numbers, and you're absolutely correct, but he was also 5.50 ERA, went down to 4.80. One of the things that you can also do is, what if he's getting better? What if you're trying to get his numbers up for trade? Because we know he's 2024, he can be unrestricted free agent. But the 2023, you can get a trade out of him. How do you know they're not trying to do any of that? Especially when they had this unnecessary rebuild in the first place. How do we know he's not gone? I thought personally he was gone at the trade deadline before this whole situation. So to me, this is one of those situations you don't know if he's even going to be back at all for the next year. So you might as well see if he can have some good numbers and get some good trade bait out of him.
All right, that was the Pundits Pundit. Going to bring on Jordan Long with his rebuttal. He's got a minute on the clock. Let's see what you got, Jordan.
Again, what would be the point of bringing him back? I get your point of saying, oh, let's see what he has for the rest of the year, maybe trade bait. But that gives him 6 months to get ready. And maybe next year at the trade deadline, he has some more trade value. So you keep him. You don't shut him down. You let him pitch, next year. You have 6 months for him to rest. It just doesn't make sense to go ahead and say, oh, let's bring you up for a rehab assignment from Arizona and pitch a few games. No, shut him down. Because like you said, maybe he doesn't have a whole lot left. Well, we don't know that for him to pitch next year. So why not just go ahead, shut him down now. Maybe his trade value goes up. That way we can get better prospects if we're going to trade him. It just doesn't make sense to go ahead and let him play this year. Shut him down. Let it be. Let him get ready for 2023.
Let it be. The Beatles in the house. So, Mr. Convicted Felon, who we got as the winner this week? It's all on you. All eyes are on you.
So once again, also, solid points by both men. This one here was pretty hard. It's one thing that Jacob did bring up, and it reminds me of a quote that Sting did on a WCW Nitro in 1996. He said, the only thing that's for certain about Sting is nothing's for sure. And that is what the Cubs front office reminds me of this year, is that they've been unpredictable. Hap was gone, Contreras was gone, but then now they're not. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, well, is Hap going to be gone this offseason? Okay, well, Hendricks is not guaranteed to be on the team. We honestly don't know what's going to happen. But I will say this much. If the man wants to play and you think you're not going to keep him next year and he can play, I think you let him get his reps in, let him build up his resume. but also at the same time, I do understand saving the man's health. So, man, it was rough, but I got inside with Jordan this week. I think that you do shut him down, you save him. He's one of your best pitchers. And he did make note that they don't, report to spring training until February. That 6 months to heal was pretty much the straw right there. Yeah, let him heal up. You have him come back, get inside the rotation with Stroman, and call up another youngster or two from Iowa, and you start fresh next year.
So that means that Sports Scoops gets the W. Jordan Long, congratulations. And that's it for Cubfidential tonight. Make sure you're watching Sideline Sports 7 nights a week, your best sports television. If you're not watching the game, you should be watching Sideline Sports. We're out. See you next week.